Hello folks, we're back, and this time we're back with a bit of fun. So I was recently watching the Top Gear, the last Grand Tour special, and really good episode by the way, probably the best special they've done, and it got me interested in watching the old Top Gear episodes again. So I was watching a few of them, and I ended up stumbling across the one where the three boys went to Italy with a Noble. Richard had the Noble, James had a McLaren, and Jeremy had a Lamborghini Aventador. And at the very end, they ended up going to Imola. And they had to beat a time around Imola that the Stig, or the Italian cousin of the Stig, had set in a Ferrari 458. So I thought, you know what? Let's try and beat it in the sim. Now, I know there are differences, but it's a bit of fun. And so we'll see the lap just now. So this is the Italian Stig racing round Imola. Absolutely on the limit, by the way. I know that by the lap time he did, because he must have been really pushing. And he set a fast time of 1:56.6. So I thought to myself, yeah, there are differences between the sim. Obviously, the sim is generally faster because you can push harder in the sim. But, let's see how close we can get. He is a professional racing driver. This wasn't the old Stig. This wasn't Ben Collins, who we all knew as the Stig. This was the one that replaced him. And I believe he was Phil Keane, who is a current British GT racing driver and very good one at that. So he is a quick driver, and 1:56.6. I knew it was a fast time. So it was a case of, yes, the sim's quicker, but he's a professional racing driver. I'm just some numpty amateur. And we'll see how close we can get. Now, generally, I would expect a sim, like for like, to probably be a second and a half difference, maybe something like that, which isn't that much, particularly given the gulf in driving talent. So I thought 1:56.6 is a realistic time to try and beat. The other thing I did was, I thought, I'm not going to endlessly do this, so I'll give myself a hard limit of 12 laps. So what you're seeing now is you see me roll out of the pits and just get familiar. Obviously, I'm very familiar with Imola. Raced it a lot on ACC, done a lot of GT3 racing around here, and lack of talent right there on the screen for you. So as it turns out, if you push an Acqua Minerale and your rear wheel touches the grass, you are going round. The suspension will not cope. The grip will not cope, and you end up going round. So this lap you're now seeing is my first sort of push lap to sort of set a benchmark time to see how close we are, how far we are away, and see how close we can get to the Stig's time. So this was really getting familiar with a road car. Obviously I do a lot of racing in race cars, but there is a big difference in a road car, even on a sim, even on AC on console, which is anemic by comparison to its PC counterpart, but it is still a really good sim. And the differences are not subtle. Brakes, the difference in braking cannot be underestimated. You can brake so much harder, so much later in a race car, and you can trail into corners. Now, you can't really trail brake in these cars. Well, I couldn't anyway. I don't have the talent for that. You found yourself there we go, lack of talent. So a reset, off we'll go again. And I'll go back to the braking. Yeah, you can't really trail in the same. You really have to do a lot of your braking in a straight line and then just roll it in with a light bit of trail braking at the very end as you're slowing right down. And as well demonstrated in that little corner there, you get bucket loads of understeer just through the sort of difference in mechanical grip from the suspension, the tyres, the tyre model not being in racing slicks. All these things make a real difference in terms of driving style, and something that I definitely needed to adapt to. I have done a little bit of these kind of road cars in AC. About a year or so ago, I did some of the career mode, so I'm not totally unfamiliar with it. I have done a couple of races in this car, I see races. I think I've done one race and some hot laps around Mugello in this car, so I wasn't totally unfamiliar with it. But coming from so much ACC to this, yeah, it takes quite a bit of getting used to just how quickly you can approach corners. Nothing wrong with the power of the car. I mean, hugely quick in a straight line. But yeah, the braking and just the lack of mechanical grip and how much you can ride the curbs. Actually took the curbs really well, surprisingly well. And just, you know, learning how far you can push it. It's quicker in a GT3 car to get up to how far you can push it, because you can push, and eventually you'll go over the edge. This is a bit more fragile. So, you know, this is the actual, we've managed to complete a, you know, first push lap, 3 laps in, as you can see from the top left corner. So on my third attempt, we didn't spin, and we set a benchmark lap time of 1:58.2. So we'll now fast forward a few laps, I think up to lap 6 or 7, and you know, we'll discover laps. We're about to start lap 7, so this is where we're going to push and push. You can see that last one was a 57.7, but I'd actually invalidated, so it doesn't count as a best lap time. So 7 laps in now, I'm starting to get familiar with, you know, the braking points, how much I can push, when to be on the power, when not to be. I'm still getting a bit of understeer, still losing a bit of time, but you can see just in that first corner, we're gaining time as you've got to carry more speed through the corners, almost braking, getting all your braking done well before the corner, and not carrying your braking into the corner, but actually doing it all, much more of it before you get to the corner, and settle the car down, and then you can focus on the exit. Obviously, in these road cars in particular, the exit of the corner seems to be far more important than the entry of the corner. You know, you really need to set the car, get it all balanced, and then you can have a smooth exit. And the smoother and faster exit you have, the more speed you're going to carry. So it is a slightly different style of driving. But as you can see now, we're 1.2 seconds up. We're beginning to gain time. You know, as we've just gone through Aqua Minerale, we get it much better. Actually missed the curb there on the inside, but you know, again, and that bit of green on the outside there, even in the GT cars, that bit of green is really slippy if you get on the power, and you're not fully set. It just sets the tail off. This is a really hard corner. This is a difficult braking zone, even in a racing car. But doing it in a road car, I actually lifted at the top of the hill just before that kink, so that you can actually try and get the car settled coming down that hill. Really difficult, but as you can see, we lost a fair bit of time in that last sector. Coming from the chicane down that hill, we lost nearly 0.6. But even so, we did a 1:57.1. So we're now within half a second of Stig, and we're about to start lap 10. So approaching my hard limit as to what I said I would do. I said I would do 12 laps, and this is lap 10. So I'm starting to push a bit now. Didn't quite get that first corner. Just didn't sort of roll enough speed through the corner. And as you can see, look, we're what's the delta saying? Nearly a 10th down. And I don't think I just didn't really carry too much in this one. I was beginning to push a little bit, and you can see, look, you run wide there. You don't get your braking down. The car's not settled, and I'm nearly 3/10 down. But I knew that obviously the second half of my previous lap, or previous fastest lap, was poor, so there was time to be had. So yeah, I've got 3/10 to make up on this one. So we're pushing. See how there, I'm not sure if this is the right way to do it, but you know, I'm settling the car down and then really accelerating through, and already I've shaved off 2/10 of the deficit. You know, and again, trying to get into this corner early, and then full power as early as I can. And look at that, we're now into a positive delta. We're nearly a 10th up, so we've made nearly 4/10 of a second just in those 3 corners. And then we smashed that curb much better this time. And then just look at the delta time. You know, we don't squirm on the green on the outside. We carry the speed over the curbs, and look at that, 7-8 tenths of a second. Now we're going down this hill again. You can see the car moving under braking. It's really tricky down that hill in a road car. You know, and look, 9 tenths, 8 tenths, we're really pushing. You know, we clip that apex nicely and we're on the power early, and look, we're 9 tenths of a second up. Obviously losing a bit of time, maybe my gear changes weren't great, and maybe it was on the power a fraction later, but we do 8 tenths, nearly 9 tenths of a second, and we get a 1 minute 56.2. So there you are. Officially, I'm faster than the Stig.